Hi everyone, Crazy Joe here from MegaPodzilla, and this is my good friend Oreo. Say hello, Oreo. Oreo is a 10-year-old Italian Greyhound, and I've had him since he was a puppy. But today, Saturday, May 13th, 2017, is a special day. Every May 13th, I have to celebrate because 5 years ago, on May 13th, Oreo here and I were reunited after 4 years apart. As many of you may not know, I'm divorced. I'm remarried. My wife, Christine, occasionally is in these videos. She's a co-host on MegaPodzilla sometimes. She's our news director on the MegaPodzilla podcast. We couldn't do the show without her, quite frankly. But she's my second wife, and Oreo was purchased by myself and my first wife. And at the time of our divorce, Oreo and I were separated, and we didn't see each other for 4 years. This is the Montgomery Mall. This is where I first got Oreo 10 years ago, in this mall. This store behind me, Hudson Leather, that used to be a pet store. Back in 2007, a pet store was there. 10 years ago, that's where I got Oreo. Now, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking, why would I buy a dog at a pet store? That's terrible, puppy mills, all that. I understand, and I agree. But you have to remember, this was 10 years ago. The whole puppy mill thing hadn't really been as well publicized back then, and I personally was ignorant to it and did not know about the whole thing with puppy mills and pet stores. I do now, and I wouldn't buy a dog from a pet store again. But this was 10 years ago. I really didn't know any better then, and I bought him right there. I was walking through this mall, and I saw him right in that window right there, and I just fell in love with the little guy. He was so cute, and I walked out with him that day. He was totally an impulse buy. When I got divorced, my wife and I had bought him together as a puppy, and we both really liked him. We both really loved him, and we both wanted to keep him. At first, I fought to keep Oreo, but then my father convinced me. And my father was a very intelligent man. I gotta say, this is one of the few times he was wrong. But my father convinced me that I was too emotional at the time of the divorce, and therefore I wasn't thinking as clearly, and it would be smart to let him make some of the decisions because he was not as emotional, and therefore he was more level-headed. And he decided that my ex-wife should get Oreo, and he told me that was the right move. So it made some sense. My dad was definitely more level-headed about things than I was at the time, because I was very emotional. I was going through a divorce. So I agreed with him and said, okay, if you think that's best, that's what we'll do. So I gave up the fight, and I let Oreo go with my ex-wife. And he was 1 year old at the time. I'd been with him for the first year of his life, and I let her take him. And I really regretted that almost immediately. I was going through a divorce, which is always difficult. But on top of that, I had this painful feeling that I gave away my dog. And he doesn't know. He didn't understand there was a divorce. He just knew one day I left the house and he never saw me again. And I got very, very, very emotional about that decision and what a bad decision it was. And I understand why my dad thought it was a good idea. I mean, there was logic there. It's not like it was completely out of left field, but it was the wrong decision because it was one that I instantly regretted. And after that, whenever I had a communication with my ex-wife, which was very rare, we didn't really communicate. We didn't have kids or anything, so there really was no reason for us to communicate. But anytime there was any kind of communication, I would say, I would really like my dog back. Could I please have my dog back? And she never would respond. She wouldn't answer. If I put that on the end of an email, she just wouldn't say a word about it. One day out of the blue, after 4 years apart, I get an email that she has a son who's now 2 years old who is highly allergic to Oreo. Can I take him? And I said, yes, I absolutely want to take him back. It was on this site 5 years ago today, as you're viewing this, assuming you're viewing this the day I uploaded it. 5 years ago today, right here, outside this Benihana, Oreo and I were reunited. My former mother-in-law met me here, turned the dog over to me, and that was 5 years ago today. We haven't been apart since. Here's a picture from that day. Reunited. At the time, 4 years apart. Hadn't seen each other in 4 years. And he seemed very happy to see me, so apparently he remembered me. I don't know how well a dog's memory works, but he seemed to know who I was despite having not seen me in 4 years. Right there, 5 years ago, today. It was Mother's Day at the time. This dog and I have been through a lot together. We moved cross country. We moved from the Philadelphia area to Phoenix. We've been to the Grand Canyon together. We've seen some things together. I love this little guy. Check out these baby pictures of Oreo. So cute, so small. Look at him, and look how much hair I had back then. This little dog, I love him very much. I've raised him since he was a puppy. He's a very stubborn dog, which is typical of the breed. If you read about Italian Greyhounds, they are a very stubborn breed of dog. And quite frankly, I love this little guy so much, but he's a pain in the ass. This dog whines, and he's very insistent on having things done his way, and he's not easily trainable. I mean, he's 10 years old, and he's very set in his ways. He went through training classes at PetSmart multiple times as a puppy, and clearly they didn't take because he's just as bad as ever. When he was younger, I didn't think he was very intelligent because he wasn't getting the training. Like, we'd go through the training, and he wouldn't get it. And I thought, oh, poor dog, he's not very smart. He's the one dog in the class that's not picking up. Then one day I asked him to do something. He didn't do it. Then he noticed I had a treat. Suddenly he did it right away. And I realized he's not a stupid dog. He's actually pretty intelligent. He just is so stubborn. He does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. And that's that. And my wife always says that she's the most stubborn one in the house, but I don't know that I agree with that. I think this dog may have her beat. He's got a stubborn streak like you wouldn't believe. But I love him so much. I've raised him since he was a puppy. And you know, anytime you have a pet, you have a responsibility. But I feel like I have a double responsibility with Oreo. I feel like the responsibility is even more so because I fought to get him back. Because we were separated and I fought to get him back. So I feel like there was the initial responsibility, and then I took on the responsibility again. And look, he's trying to get away. Good boy. So I love this dog. He's a good dog, and I don't know what I'd do without him. And I'm very happy to have spent the last 5 years reunited with him. So we spent 1 year together, 4 years apart, and now 5 years back together again. So thanks for watching. Keep on wearing those pajamas.